Hey everybody, this is Matt, and in today's video, I have for you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Master 1 Labrynth deck profile. That's right, folks. You thought the deck profile, the deck list was never going to drop. Well, I got you. I completely fooled you. It's here, and I'm going to show it off now. So, yeah, Labrynth is one of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. This is a trap-heavy variant. There are no furniture, so if you're a degenerate furniture enjoyer, go somewhere else. Go to another video. Or if you are a degenerate furniture enjoyer, but you want to get better at building Labrynth and better at Yu-Gi-Oh, watch this video so you'll learn how to build Labrynth without any of the furniture. I'm not going to go into a rant about why I don't like the furniture, but or maybe I will. Who knows? Anyway, let's get into it. So we're going to start with the Labrynth engine. So the Labrynth engine cards, we're running 2 copies of Ariana, the Labrynth Servant. 2 is all you need. She's cool to see in your hand once in a while. You don't want to see more than 1 copy in your hand. And having 2 enables some rank 4 plays, which is kind of interesting. And also, the reason I have 2 Ariana is because, as you'll see with the other Labrynth ratios, it's more welcome and big welcome targets in your deck and graveyard, right? We're running 1 copy of, where is she? Lovely Labrynth. So this is a 1 of. She's a brick. You never want to draw her because, yeah, she's dead in your hand. We're running 2 copies of Lady Labrynth. 2 is the correct ratio. It used to be 3. I was one of the first people who pioneered the idea of 2. Back when Lady first came out in the TCG, I was experimenting with that. But because of the Kashtira format, we had to go with 3 because of Kashtira banishing our the top 15 cards from our deck or whatever, right? So these are the only Labrynth monsters. So we have 5 welcome targets. Speaking of welcome, we're gonna go with 2 welcome, regular welcome, 3 big welcome, and 1 copy of the Labrynth field spell. So these are all the Labrynth cards you need. No Ariane, no furniture. This is all you need for your engine. The rest of the deck will be utility cards and traps, right? So let's go into the details of some of these cards. For some of you who have not seen a Labrynth deck video of mine in a long time, or are just new to Labrynth, might want to understand what these cards do. So let's go through them. So Ariana is your starter, level 4, normal summon, special summon. You can add a Labrynth card from deck to hand. It's your main searcher. It's your Stratos, right? So the second effect, if another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect. So trap effect implies a trap card that is triggering in the graveyard, so like Big Welcome, or on the field. You get to draw a card, and after drawing the card, you can either set a spell trap in your hand to the field, or special a fiend monster from your hand. So this is another way to get Lovely on the field if you have Lovely in your hand. So you might just get a free special summon off her. Lovely has 3 effects. A lot of people forget she has 3 effects. Let's go over each one. The first one, which most people forget, your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to activation of your normal trap cards. So you have Lovely on the field with a bunch of back row, and they summon Barone. You can immediately use a trap card to get rid of Barone, and Barone cannot chain to negate because Lovely stops monster effects from responding, right? It also means if you have a Lovely on the field and you try to Big Welcome, right? They can't use Ash to stop Big Welcome while Lovely is on the field, right? So Lovely is great. Her first effect is great. Second effect, target a normal trap in graveyard, set it to the field, cannot be activated unless you control fiend monster. So, this is probably a very important effect because it allows you to recycle trap cards from your graveyard onto your field and reuse them again. Very powerful effect. You're going to be using this a lot. This is part of the reason why Labrynth is so good at the ground game. You never run out of resources, right? Third effect, if another monster leaves the field by normal trap effect, you can destroy a card in your opponent's hand at random, or on their field, your choice. Does not target. So you get a pop every time you take something, you get rid of a monster using a normal trap, right? So very important. Lady Labrynth. So last time I made a Labrynth deck profile video in Master Duel, Lady Labrynth did not exist. This card was not yet in the game. It is now, and we're running 2 of her. So because she's significantly less brickier than Lovely, right? You like to see her in the hand once in a while. You don't want to see more than one in your opening hand, so therefore that's why you don't run 3, right? It says while you control a set card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. It cannot be destroyed, so she's fully protected from targeting destruction effects, as like Dragoon, right? For example, as long as you have a set card, right? So it can't be impermed, can't be popped, etc. Druid Swarm can't get rid of her. All right. She has the other 2 effects. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. If a Labrynth card or effect or a normal trap card is activated, you can accept herself. You can special her from hand in defense position. So if you normal summon Ariana, you're activating and use her effect on summon activate. You're fulfilling this requirement. So you can search Lady and immediately special her to the field, right? Similarly, if you activate the field spell, you can special Lady from the hand. Any other Labrynth card, or you use a trap card, right? Let's say you use Big Welcome. You can immediately chain Lady to put her on the field, and then you have an extra body that you might want to bounce. And then her final effect, which is probably her strongest, when a normal trap card is activated, quick effect, you can set one normal trap card with a different name directly from your deck. So if Lovely gets you the engine to grind out the game by recycling your traps in your graveyard, Lady searches your traps from your decks directly onto your field. So every time you or your opponent activates a normal trap card, assuming you can chain her to that trap card, and you'll search a trap card from deck, different name, has to be a normal trap. However, note that your opponent can block this effect by chaining an effect. So let's say you use your trap card, your opponent can chain something like, let's say, Bestial, right? And then you cannot, that's chain link 2, and then you cannot chain link 3 to use Lady. So your opponents can block this. However, if your opponent activates a normal trap, like their Welcome or Imperm or whatever, you can chain Lady. It won't be blocked, and then you can set a card from your deck. So very important. Field Spell. This helps you win the grind game super hard. Also really good in the Labrynth Mirror matchup. So when a set normal trap Welcome Labrynth trap is activated, you can, after resolving its effect, it also pops a card on the field as part of its effect, right? So this makes it so your Welcomes and Big Welcomes pop a free card on the field, either side of the field, right? Non-targeting. And then the second effect is if you activate a non-Labrynth normal trap card, except during the end step, you can special summon a fiend monster from your hand or graveyard. So this helps you bring back your Lovelies, Ladies, and Arianas that might be in the graveyard. Also, if you have a Lovely Labrynth in your hand that is kind of bricking you, this can get it onto the field. So, yeah. So if they out your monsters, you can bring them back using the field spell. Very, very powerful. 2 Welcome Labrynth. Why 2? Let's go over it. So its effect says special summon a Labrynth monster from your deck, and then you're locked into only being able to special summon fiends from deck or extra deck. If a monster, and then the second effect says if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card is in the graveyard, except the turn it will send there, you can set this card. So, and you know each effect is once per turn. So, yeah, the second effect means it comes back from the graveyard every time a normal trap removes a monster, a body, right? Which means you don't really need 3. It's very easy for you to just sit on 1, copy, and then just recycle it. So why is this not a 1-of? It's not a 1-of because we run Trap Trick in the deck, and Trap Trick requires at least a 2-of, right? And then finally, 3 copies of Big Welcome. This is like the best card in the engine. Specials a Labrynth monster from hand, deck, or graveyard. So this is another way to get Lovely out of your hand because regular Welcome cannot get out of your hand. Also, this can bring it back from the graveyard, right? So special Labrynth monster from hand, deck, or grave. Then return 1 monster you control to the hand. Any monster. And by the way, when that monster is returned, right, it triggers all the Labrynth card effects that say whenever a monster leaves the field by normal trap effect, because this is a normal trap effect, and a monster is leaving the field if you bounce it to hand, right? And then the second effect says you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a fiend monster you control, or if you control level 8 or higher fiend, you can target a card your opponent controls, bounce that card to hand. So there's another interruption while it's in the graveyard. You can only use each 1 effect per turn and only once that turn. So yeah. Very, very good. Mandatory 3-of. It's so good. It's so good. It's incredible. Like, you want to see this card. Okay. So that's the Labrynth engine. No furniture. Furniture sucks. Furniture bad. Next, let's get into what I consider to be mandatory cards that every back row / trap deck / control deck should be running. Let's start with 3, Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Where are you at? Where's my Lord? Lord of the... There's a lot of Lords of... Lord of the Heavenly Prison. This card is absolutely cracked. 3k beater, 3k defense, level 10 rock. 2 effects. During your main phase, activate this effect. While this card... This card in your hand becomes revealed until the end of your opponent's turn. While it's revealed by card effect, any set cards on the field, monsters, spell traps, etc., your field or your opponent's field, cannot be destroyed by card effects. If a set card, spell trap card on the field is activated, except during the step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you activated this effect while it was revealed, you can reveal and set a spell trap directly from deck, but banish it during the end phase. You can only use one effect per turn. So typically, use on turn 1, you use Lord to reveal itself to protect your back row. Turn 2, you use that back row at some point, and on the subsequent chain after you use that trap card, you can special Lord to the field and then set any spell trap card you want from your deck. So this is very good, especially because it stops your opponent from clearing out your back row via Feather Duster, via Lightning Storm, via other cards that pop. Barone stops Barone from popping your back row, right? There's a lot of popping effects. Guardian Chimera on Branded, right? Branded Beast, right? The Bestials, or sorry, is it Branded Beast? Yeah, Branded Beast, right? Yeah, so very good card. And this card can enable your OTK, right? So why is that? So let's say your opponent has no monsters on the field. So you went first. You set a bunch of cards. You activated Lord. You passed. Your opponent does their thing. They're unable to get monsters on the field, or their field is cleared because you were able to stop all their plays using trap cards, right? Come end phase, you can activate a card like a Floodgate or Trap Trick or something to summon Lord on the end phase. Lord will set Big Welcome from deck to field, and then on your turn, Lord swings into them for 3,000 damage in battle phase. Still in battle phase, activate Big Welcome. Big Welcome will summons Lovely, bounces Lord back to hand, and because Big Welcome is a trap card that was activated, you can then resummon Lord and then Lovely attack, Lord attack. That's more than 8,000 damage. So Lord can enable OTK. Go watch my Adventures of videos. You might see this play a few times, but yeah, Lord is cracked. Any card you want, spell trap, you can just search it. You can search Welcome. So you might say, oh, you don't run furniture. What if you don't see engine? If you don't see any of your welcome cards or ladies or Arianas or whatever, activate Lord, and when you summon Lord on your opponent's turn, you can set a welcome card. There you go. Also, one hilarious interaction I like to do with Lord. Let's say I Lord set cards, right? My opponent goes, they do their turn. Let's say I use Welcome or Big Welcome, and then they Ash the Welcome or Big Welcome. On the subsequent chain to the Ash, I can immediately summon Lord and set another Welcome. So their Ash, this makes Ash even more meaningless. So Ash can hit Big Welcomes or Welcomes, can also hit Ariana. Fairly meaningless because Big Welcome, regular Welcome can come back from the graveyard easily. Big Welcome becomes an interruption in the graveyard, so it's not a big deal. And of course, Lord can just say, "Oh, you're ashing my Welcome. I'm just gonna set another one. Cool, GG, right? Like, doesn't matter." So yeah, Ash is a joke against this deck. It really is. Like, go watch my Adventures of video. Every Ash Blossom you see does nothing because it really just doesn't do anything, right? Yeah, please play Lord. Even if you're running the furniture variant, play Lord. It's so fucking good. It's so good, right? If you draw too many Lords, you can send Lord off. Like, you draw 2 Lords, send Lord off of a furniture and for your thing, right? But please play Lord, even if you're playing the furniture variant. It's a searcher. Why don't you want to play it? Protects your back row, right? Alright, other cards I consider to be mandatory. Let's talk pot cards. Pot of, since for some reason these were limited on Master Duel, we run 1 pot of Extravagance, 1 pot of Duality, and 1 pot of... Where's Prosperity? Oh, it's right here. Okay. 1 pot of Prosperity. So these are your pot cards. Normally, if the pot cards were not limited, I would be running 2 Extrav, 2 Duality, as some of you may have seen in my previous videos. However, since we're at 1, we're going to go with 1 Duality, 1 Extrav, 1 Prosperity. They're always live. They're always useful. And guess what, folks? Lord of the Heavenly Prison, when it's summoned, can search any of these pots. Always prioritize Extravagance, because drawing 2 is usually better than Excavate 1, right? Yeah, so you have... These cards help you see more engine. So you say, oh, what if I'm not seeing my engine? You can dig. Prosperity can dig you for 6. Duality can dig you for 3. And then this can draw you 2. So you're definitely going to be seeing engine at some point, right? So, yeah. And that's it for the spell cards. That's all the spells you'll be seeing in this deck. Continuing on with cards I consider to be mandatory. 2 copies of Trap Trick. This card is insane. This card says 2 more copies of every normal trap in your deck, including Welcome, including Big Welcome. So, yeah, who says I'm not seeing Engine? Every card you see on screen right now, all 19 of these cards is Engine, except for, I guess, Lovely is a brick, right? But all these cards are Engine. So, for those of you who say, oh, without Furniture, you don't see Engine. Yes, you do. Yes, you fucking do. Right, go watch my Adventures of Labrynth videos. I always see Engine. Inevitably, right? If not on the first turn, by the second turn, right? Yeah, so I think, yeah, these are pretty mandatory, honestly. And now let's get into optional cards. Cards that I think probably should be played, but you could go either way. So let's start with 2 copies of Solemn Strike. So this card is cracked. For anyone who have seen any of my Adventures of videos, this card is good going first or second. Your opponent sets, and it's not once per turn. So you can use 3 Solemn Strikes on the same turn. That's why it's a 3 of. Trap Trick is once per turn. That's why it's a 2 of. So what Solemn Strike not only can negate summons, so like they make access code, negate, goodbye access code. They make Barone the Fleur, negate, goodbye Barone, right? But also it can negate monster effects. So Barone activates its effect to pop one of your cards. You just say no. You just say Solemn Strike, goodbye Barone, negate, destroy, right? So this card is cracked. I really don't see why you wouldn't see it. Also, excuse me, if you really wanted to, you can Solemn Strike. If you really hate being Ash on Welcome, Solemn Strike Ash. There you go. I most of the time I wouldn't, but you can do that, right? Solemn Strike Ash Blossom. So your Welcomes go through. Yeah, just do it. In the mirror matchup, if you have Solemn Strike and they have a lady in their hand and they activate Lady effect in hand to special itself, you can Solemn Strike and kill their Lady, right? Lady is very annoying to out once it's on the field because it's protected, right? But if you Solemn Strike it in the hand, then it's dead, right? And obviously, against Lovely effect, you can Solemn Strike Lovely, assuming it's not chain blocked, of course, right? Yeah, because all these cards can chain block, right? Since a monster leaving the field by normal trap effect is the condition for trigger. You can chain block Ariana, Field Spell, Welcome, and Lovely in whatever order you want. You can also chain block with Lord, right? So yeah, you have up to 5 chain blocks, like cards that can chain block in this deck, just from the cards that you see on screen right now. Yeah, Solemn Strike, pretty mandatory. Gets rid of their boss monsters, prevents some of their boss monsters from even existing, and it just, like, if you need a card to go off, like Torrential Tribute, and they try to negate it, you can just say no negates for you, sorry, right? And I think it should be in every deck. I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it in the mandatory section. Okay, so let's get into the rest of the deck. Some utility. One copy of Wannabee. So I started off my Adventure Series not playing this card because I forgot it existed, to be honest. Yeah, I play 1 copy. It's essentially a second pot of Duality in that during the end phase, either player's turn, you can send this card from hand to graveyard, hand or field to graveyard, excavate cards from top deck equal to the number of your opponent's unused spell trap zones. So best case scenario, this excavates you across your field, but it goes to the graveyard next end phase. So ideally, you only want to set a trap card that you plan to use. But this is essentially like a second pot of Duality that does not conflict with Duality's once per turn clause. So you effectively can use pot of Duality twice. If you have Duality and Wannabee, right, you're excavating for like 8 at that point, right? And then the rest of the cards that you excavated go to the bottom of the deck. Wannabee's once per turn. Why only 1? Because I've never really seen a situation where a second one comes up, and opening 2 in your opening hand feels really bad. Really bad. I never want to open 2 of these in my opening hand. I would possibly cut this because going second, if your opponent sets up like a monster negate like Appaloosa, they can just negate this, right? And you don't get anything off of it. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll bait a Barone or a Borderload Savage, but like, yeah, if they set up any monster negates, this can just be stopped. But it's pretty interesting because like, this allows you to search, like, potentially search Solemn Strike, and then you have a live Solemn Strike at the start of your turn, like if you're going second, and then which you can use to negate any of your opponent's boss monsters that try to do something against you, right? So yeah, it's pretty useful. I would say a one of, no more than a one of, because there's just other cards I like more that I want to keep in this deck, and I couldn't really think of anything else to cut, right? So yeah, one Wannabee is probably enough. It's already a borderline card. I might not even keep it. Also, yeah, it's I don't know. It's decent, but it is definitely one of those, like, once Labrynth gets new cards, this is like the first on the chopping block. All right, let's get into our traps. So, power one-ofs that we're going to be searching off Lady often. Actually, no. Before we get into that, let's do our best traps. 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. I see, so really, we have 5 copies because of Trap Trick, but I see Labrynth decks not play this card, and it's insane. Destroy all monsters on the field. Very simple. Monster summon, destroy all monsters. Oftentimes, this can kill you 3, 4, 5 monsters. Just and completely end your opponent's turn instantly, right? One card can do this. It just trades so hard, and it's not once per turn. So if you draw all 3 Torrential Tributes, they're all live, just like Solemn Strikes, right? And people are like, oh, you know, maybe you don't want to play Torrential Tribute because it kills your own monsters. Like, it might kill Lovely, right? It might kill your ladies. 2 arguments response to that. Number 1, let's say you open Welcome and Torrential and some other cards. You can set all of your cards. You choose what order you activate your trap. So you can use Torrential before using Welcome. So let your opponent play out, do their summons, use Torrential, kill their monsters, then use Welcome to bring out your lady or your Lovely, right? So you can just ignore that, like dodge Torrential completely if you're just smart about what order you activate your trap cards, number 1. Number 2, if you have Lady on the field and you Torrential, you can chain Lady to Torrential to set a big Welcome, and then you get Lady back from the graveyard next turn anyway, right? So if you really need to get Torrential and you have Lady on the field, you can do that. Number 3, remember this field spell? Yeah, you can use, let's say you have field spell, Lady and Torrential. Your opponent summons a bunch of monsters, you Torrential. Lady, you chain Lady to set another card. Lady dies. Because Torrential is a non-Labrynth normal trap, you use field spell, brings back Lady immediately, right? So I really don't understand players who do not play this card in trap decks, especially like Labrynth. Like, come on, it's so good. It is incredible. Just play it. Also, Torrential has a few niche cases where if your skill drain is on the field, you can normal summon Ariana, activate Ariana effect, and then Torrential Ariana to get her off the field, dodge skill drain, and then get a search off. Right. So there are other applications to Torrential as well. But yeah, this is just an amazing card. I don't know why you're not playing it. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Dogmatic Punishment. 2 copies because this is hard once per turn. We don't want to see more than 1 in our opening hand. And with Trap Trick, this is essentially 4 copies, right? This says, target a face a monster your opponent controls, send a monster with equal or higher attack from extra deck to graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. And then you're locked out of the extra deck. But the extra deck doesn't matter. What does matter is that you can, if you have this card, you can pop upwards of, as low as 1 monster your opponent controls, and upwards of 3 cards your opponent controls. So a lot of times you're going to set Elder, Entity, and Tis. So you pop their monster, and Tis on new chain is going to pop another card. And if you have a Lovely on the field, remember Lovely's effect, you get to pop a 3rd card. So yeah, with Lovely, punishment trades 1 for 3 essentially. It's incredibly powerful, and yeah, there's other extra deck monsters you might want to send as well, which I'll get into. But yeah, this card is crazy. Yeah, we're running 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. This card is also hard once per turn. It's really good in the current format because the top decks right now, full Fusion deck, Brand Abyssal, full Synchro deck, Super Heavy Samurai, and then you'll also occasionally run into like some Sword Souls, which are synchros. You might also run into like some Xyz decks like Numerons, Exo Sister, Math Mech, right? You flip D-Barrier, you call fusions, they can't fusion. You call synchros, they can't synchro. It's a lingering floodgate, and it's a normal trap, so it's searchable off Lady, and you can reset it off Lovely. And with Trap Trick, we have 4 copies in hand, so I almost always see D-Barrier. It's very hard to not see D-Barrier, especially since it's searchable, and like, I have pot cards, Lord can search it, like, Trap Trick can grab it. It's just great. It's so good. Moving on. 2 copies of Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon. This card is not once per turn, so why am I only running 2? Theoretically, I can run 3. I want to run 3, but I don't really know what to cut. Maybe I would cut the Wannabee to get a third copy. If you cut Wannabee for a third copy of this, I would not blame you, because this card is cracked. Let's read what it says. Change as many monsters on the field as possible to face-down defense position. Then, if either player controls the face-up monsters, they must send all face-up monsters to control the graveyard. So, first of all, you can only activate this if there is an eligible monster, at least one eligible monster on the field to be flipped face down. So if your opponent only has link monsters and you have nothing, you can't activate this card because there are no eligible monsters on the field to flip face down. So there must be at least one eligible monster that can be flipped, right? And after your opponent flips, after everyone flips, both sides flip all their monsters face down. All monsters that were not flipped face down, that are still face up, must go to the. Your opponent sends them to the graveyard. So this is not a trap effect. So any monsters that are immune to trap effects, like the Arrival Cyberus ad Ignister, you can get rid of it with this card. The purely Xyz monster that's unaffected by whatever effects can be sent off this card. Vanquished Soul Caesar, if it's used its effect to become unaffected by card effects, you can get rid of it using this card. This card is just very good. Other applications, preventing your opponent from killing you in battle phase, right? By Book of Mooning all their monsters. Very powerful. What else? In the Labrynth Mirror matchup, if you use this on your Labrynth opponent to flip their Lovely face down, then their Lovely is eventually dead and serves their Lady, right? Going into like your turn or their turn, right? So you can turn off a lot of decks. And while monsters are face down on the field, they can't be used for Link summons, Synchro summons, any of those. But they can be fused, right? They can be used for fusion summons and ritual summons. Another thing this card is good for is it helps you dodge Rivalry of Warlords, right? But also Skill Drain, because Skill Drain only affects face-up monsters. And Rivalry, let's say you have Lord of the Heavenly Prison on the field, you can use this to flip Lord face down, and then you can use a Welcome to bring out a Fiend, right? So, very good card. Honestly, I'm kind of on the fence. Maybe I just drop this Wannabee and put a third Daruma Karma. It's so good. It's not once per turn. It's really good. Like, this absolutely wrecks Link decks because all Link monsters get sent to the graveyard, right? Yeah, feel free to play 3 if you really want, and I would cut Wannabee. Cut Wannabee, play 3 of these. So, yeah. Normal Trap can be searched off Lady, can be recycled off Lovely, and can be searched off Trap. So really we have 4 copies, right? So those are all our, those aren't all our normal traps, but those are all our 2-ofs and higher. We are running a couple 1-ofs. We are running Ice Dragon's Prison. Just 1 copy. I did start Adventures of Labrynth using 2. I cut this down to 1. The reason is because, again, it's not like it's solid against Super Heavy Samurai because most of their little machine monsters are machine. But then their end board monsters are all different types, right? Like you have a warrior, you have a fairy, you have a dragon, right? So not great at breaking boards. Against Swordsoul, obviously this Rex. Against Labrynth, this Rex, right? So Labrynth Mirror matchup, you definitely want to be searching this off Lady. This comes in really handy. And then against Branded, the main reason I use this is to either banish their Bishu Lubellion before it can search. So let's say they tribute, let's say they have Albaz on the field. They tribute Albaz, summon Bishu Lubellion. You can use Ice Dragons to banish Albaz and Bishu Lubellion before Bishu Lubellion can get a search for Branded Beast or Branded Regain or any of their other branded spell traps, right? So this is very strong for that. However, against Vanquished Soul, does very basically nothing. Against there are too many matchups where this doesn't do much, right? So yeah, this is a 1-of that's very useful in a few select situations, I would say. When the Unchained gets new support soon, right? They're gonna have a bunch. There's gonna be a bunch of shiny new Unchained cards. This is probably gonna become a mandatory 2-of because Unchained might take over. Well, we'll see how Super Heavy Samurai gets hit if it does or how that reacts. But yeah, Unchained is going to take over at some point, and you want Ice Dragon's Prison. So bump this up to 2 once that happens, right? And then, of course, the other 1-of is Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card is insanely good because it's a 1-of because, well, it's limited. But yeah, you want to blow out your opponent sometimes. you know, if you know your opponent has Branded Fusion in hand because they searched it off of a Luber or whatever, Eradicator, call spells, GG, Branded. You're in a Labrynth Mirror matchup. Eradicator, call traps, GG, right? There's just a lot of decks where calling Eradicator for spells is just kill, like instantly wins the game. And yeah, you have to tribute one of either Lovely or Lady, but if you have Field Spell, or actually you can tribute Lord. So Lord can set this from deck, and then on the subsequent turn you can use this to tribute Lord, right? So yeah, you have a lot of ways to activate this. Dynamorphia, call traps, right? If you have the Labrynth Field Spell on the field when you use this card, then the Lady or Lovely that you tribute can immediately be revived by the Field Spell, so you don't even lose anything off of it. Yeah, having this one of is so good. It's so good. Comes up, you just gotta have it. You just gotta have it. All right, let's talk about back row. So, Floodgates, 1 copy of Skill Drain, 1 copy of Goes and Match, 1 copy of Rivalry of Warlords, 1 copy of Imperial Iron Wall. So so these Floodgates are limited. That's why it's only 1 of each. Skill Drain, need I say, shuts off most decks, right? Yeah, shuts off your Labrynth effects, but you have trap cards, so who cares? Most of your monsters are big beaters anyway, so under Skill Drain, they'll just scoop probably. Kills super heavy, kills a lot of decks, right? Good against Vanquish Soul as well. Alright. Rivalry and Gozen. So, Super Heavy Samurai, their Super Heavy Samurai monsters are mostly Earth, except for Prodigy is a Dark. So if you're able to get Prodigy on the field alone, and you flip this on them, their turn is over. They literally cannot do anything. Prodigy on the field under Gozen, it's GG, right? Also, with their Earth monsters, they can't go into Barone, they can't go into Warlord Savage, they can't go into... There's a lot of boss monsters they just can't go into under Gozen match because their engine pieces are Earths, right? There's a Super Heavy Samurai Synchro, the one that pops. I don't know if if that is an Earth, they can technically pop this, but then like they can't really make other things, right? Rivalry, same deal. Their Super Heavy Samurai is all machines, but all their boss monsters are non-Super Heavy Samurai monsters that are non-machines. Gozen and Rivalry kill Vanquish Soul instantaneously. Gozen, solid against Branded because they have a lot more light monsters now that they use, so you lock them into only lights or only darks. Ideally you lock them in only lights. Rivalry kills Branded because all their monsters are different types. They have worms, they have dragons, they have fiends, they have fairies, they have spellcasters, they have... Yeah. So Rivalry kills Branded instantaneously as well. Very good. Iron Wall. Iron Wall kills Branded. If Branded Bestial cannot banish from the graveyard, they're pretty screwed, honestly. Shuts off Mirror Jade. Shuts off the entire Bestial engine. Shuts off Branded in Red. Shuts off Branded Banishment. Shuts off Gold Sarcophagus, right? Shuts off everything. So play Iron Wall. Shuts off Branded Retribution. Play Iron Wall. Also, this shuts off Evenly Match. So if you're going first and you have this card and they evenly match you chain this, Evenly Match fizzles, right? The only downside of Iron Wall is that if you have Iron Wall face down, you cannot use Prosperity or Extrav anymore. Ideally, you've already used it, right? Because you can't banish for cost. And you cannot use Trap Trick. So what you do is you choose the order where you activate your trap cards. So what you can do is chain Iron Wall. So let's say your opponent activates Bestial, Druid Swarm, target the monster to banish. Chainlink 1 Druid Swarm, Chainlink 2 Iron Wall, Chainlink 3 Trap Trick, right? So you use a Trap Trick before Iron Wall, right? Or in the same chain. And also, you cannot banish your Big Welcome to bounce anymore. So this does slightly affect you. However, I think the upside is like way too powerful, right? Yeah. Lord of the Heavenly Prison can set this card from the deck. And normally, Lord of the Heavenly Prison, any card that you set from the deck, banishes on the end phase. So typically you don't want to search Floodgates. However, this card, Iron Wall, you flip it before the end phase of the next turn. This card says, neither player can banish cards, which means Lord of the Heavenly Prison will not banish Imperial Iron Wall, which means you will be able to keep this on the field. So this is searchable off Lord. So yeah, you have ways to get it. Also, Kashtira matchup, folks. Forgot to mention, Imperial Iron Wall completely shuts off Kashtira. If Kashtira can't banish, what good are they as a deck? They're not. They're just garbage if they can't banish. Also, goes in match also kills Kashtira because they're all different attributes. So yeah, these are like pretty mandatory floodgates. And Iron Wall is not limited, but you don't really need more than one. It's not really going to come against super heavy samurai matchup. Mostly come up in Bestials, Tenyi Sword Soul. Exo Sister. This kills the Exo Sister deck. Rivalry also kills Exo Sisters, right? Because all the Exo Sister starters are spellcasters, and all the Exo Sister XCs are warriors. So, yeah, you can lock them into spellcasters, and then their turn is over. If Exo Sisters can't banish, they're also worthless, right? Imperial Iron Wall, bam. Imperial Iron Wall also shuts off Call by the Grave. They can't Call by the Grave, you're, I don't know, lovely or something, right? Yeah, amazing card. Please play it. So those are our 4 floodgates. So what are the last 2 cards that we play? I mean, some of you might already know, but we play 2 copies of Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. Now, if you want to play Lava Golem, like if you're dueling and you're never seeing 3 monsters on your opponent's field, go ahead and switch to Lava Golem. I'm not going to fault you. I think I can play through most boards that have only 2 monsters. 3 monster boards, which is the most common, because even like, Branded Bishop puts up quite a few monsters now. With all the extenders and stuff they have. But yeah, Super Heavy Samurai, they put up Appaloosa, Theron, King Regulus, Baron de Fleur, Borlode Savage Dragon, Sphere Mode, goodbye. Yeah, just wipe out their board. Tearlament's still around, they still put up 3 monsters. Sphere Mode. Kashtira still around, they put up 3 monsters. Shangri-La, it's usually like Shangri-La, Fenrir, and Arise Heart. Sphere Mode, goodbye. So Sphere Mode is amazing. Sucks going first, but we're at a 2 of, so it's it doesn't brick you that hard. Also, hilarious enough, if you Sphere Mode them and then on the subsequent turn you flip Rivalry or Goes in Match on them, they're locked into Sphere Mode and they can't summon any other monsters for that turn because Sphere Mode is a Divine Attribute, Divine Beast type monster, and none of their other cards are going to be that type. So yeah, you just basically with Sphere Mode and any either Goes in or Rivalry, they're just completely locked out of a turn. So yeah, so that's the 40 card main deck. Again, feel free to swap out Sphere Mode for Lava Golem, but I think Sphere Mode is fine. Yeah, don't want to play 3 of because I don't want to brick on too many copies of it. Also, your pots can help you search this. Like Prosperity Excavates 6, you can probably hit this going second, right? Yeah, it's come up a lot. Don't forget that if your opponent monsters are all face down because of like Destructive Doom or Karma Cannon, and you already have Goes in a Rivalry, you can tribute over set monsters to summon Sphere Mode. So yeah, don't forget about that. Yeah, so that's the main deck. Let's go into the side deck. Most of these, sorry, not side deck, extra deck. What am I saying? Most of the extra deck are monsters that are Dharmatic Punishment targets. So let's start with the obvious ones. 3 copies of Elder Entity and Tis. This card says, if this card sends to the graveyard, you can target a card on the field, destroy it. So, use Automatic Punishment, you target a monster, that's 25 or less, you send Entity and Tis, that monster gets popped, New Chain, and Tis pops another card of your choice, back row or front row, and then if you have Lovely on the field, you get another pop. So, very good. 1 copy of Garura, Wings of Resonant Life. So this says, if this card sends to the graveyard, you can draw a card. So let's say you don't have 2 cards to pop off an Elder Entity and Tis, and let's say they have a monster of 1500 or less, which is a pretty common value. A lot of the Bestial branded starters are, right? Quem is 1500, Ecclesia is 1500, Cartesia is 1500, right? You can send Garura, pop their monster, and then you draw a card. Who doesn't like drawing cards? We have 1 copy of, where is he? Of, what's this called? Golden Cloud Beast Malong. So this is similar to Entis, but it's a 2200 attack instead of 2500. But this says, this card sends to the graveyard, target a face-up card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So this can bounce cards. So sometimes if you can't get over a monster because it's immune to being destroyed, you can attempt to bounce it, right? So, like for example, if your opponent, Branded Bestial opponent has, Branded Opening in the graveyard, you want to get rid of their Mirror Jade, you can send this on another monster, bounce Mirror Jade, right? So yeah, bouncing cards is, having the option of bounce cards is great. we're playing one copy of Cyframe Lord Omega. This card only came up that one time. Y'all saw in the Adventures of series, but basically, if this card is sent to the graveyard, well, the main thing is if it's in your graveyard, you can put it back into your. Well, so let me read the relevant effects. The relevant effect is if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one other card in the graveyard, so that's either graveyard. Shuffle both that card and this card from graveyard into the deck. So if you need an annoying card in your opponent's graveyard, you can use this, right? Or if you want your Dogmatic Punishment to have gas forever, right? Because let's say you have a Lovely that's returning Dogmatic Punishment every turn, right? On one turn, you send Elder Entity and Tis, pop some cards. On the subsequent turn, you send Omega, pop some cards. Omega can shuffle itself and Elder Entity and Tis back into the extra deck. So if you run out of Entis, but you have Omega, you'll never run out of Entis. So you'll get infinite recursion there. One time I synchro summoned this dude because he's a synchro 8 using Ariana and a Quem that I stole using Ice Dragon's Prison. It was hilarious. But yeah, you're not going to be summoning it. You're just going to be using this to shuffle cards in the graveyard back into the deck, right? Cool. Moving on, we have more Dogmatic Punishment targets. One copy of Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus the second. So this is a 3500 attack monster. So this is a punishment target for big boys, right? The main thing is if this card is on the graveyard, you can send a beast, or a wing beast from extra deck graveyard. So you can use this out a large monster, and then on a new chain, you can use this effect to send Garura. So you still get to draw one. So you send Bucephalus, pop the card, and then on new chain, Bucephalus sends Garura, and on new chain, Garura draws you a card. So yeah, great card. So that's all the Dogmatic Punishment targets. Let's talk about non-punishment targets that we run. So we are running one copy of Muckraker of the Underworld. This requires 2 effect monsters. It says you can target a fiend monster in your graveyard and then discard a card. If you do, special summon that monster. So you can use Muckraker to revive Lovely or Lady Labrynth. So this has come up a few times. Also, let's say your Lovely gets negated because of maybe an Aluber, maybe an Imperm, whatever. You can link Lovely away into this, discard a card, revive Lovely, and then you can use Lovely effect to set a card from your graveyard. Of course, that's presuming you haven't already used Lovely effect this turn. So yeah, this can, let's say your Lovely was negated by Suliek, or like Tier Limit Suliek, right? Because Tier Limit Suliek for some reason negates permanently. You can get her off the field, revive her, and then her effect is back, right? So, also, this is another 1000 damage to a potential OTK, right? I like Dark the Dark Charmer. Sometimes you might want to take a dark monster from your opponent's graveyard, maybe maybe an opposing Lovely Labrynth, maybe an opposing Lady Labrynth, maybe an opposing Mirror Jade, right? The world is your oyster. You have this. All your monsters are darks, pretty much. We have one copy of Chaos Angel. So this monster is a level 10 synchro. Says for this card synchro summon, you can treat a light or dark monster you control as a tuner. Wait, so how do we make this? Wannabee is a level 2, and it's a light, so it fulfills this requirement. So Wannabee plus Lady, any of the ladies or lovelies can make this level 10. In the future, when we run furniture because of a transaction rollback, the stove will also help make, or not the stove. Yeah, the stove will also be a level 2 that you can use to make this card. Yeah, this card never came up, but you have it just in case. Anyway, this card special summon, target a card on the field, banish it, and then it gains some extra effects. But yeah, and then you can always bounce this card back with Big Welcome, and then you can have it again in the future. Yeah, never came up. If you didn't want to cut it, feel free. Alright, what else? Any more links? So that's all the links. Those are all the synchros, all the fusions. Let's get into Xyz. One copy of Gallant Granite. This is a rank 4, so you can make this with 2 Arianas. This says, detach a material from this card to activate an effect. Add a rock monster from deck to hand, or special a rock from hand face on defense position. A rock? What rock? Lord of the Heavenly Prisoner is a rock. So if you have 2 Arianas, you can make this, detach an Ariana, and then search Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Just a thing that might come up. You never know, right? Actually, it did come up for me at least 2 times during my climb. It was very handy. This searchable rock. And of course, we're also running the DDD package. This is a little outdated. So one copy of Wave King Kaiser, one copy of Marksman King Tell, one copy of Divisor King Deus Machinex. So yeah, two Arianas can make Wave King. Wave King can go into Marksman Tell. Marksman Tell can go into this card. This card says, once per chain, when a monster card your opponent controls has its effect, you can detach 2 materials to this card, and if you do, attach that opponent's card this as material. So if you use 2 Arianas and then Xyz into Kaiser and then Tell, this will have 4 materials. And then if you attach 2 more cards to this via its own effect, that's 6 materials. So effectively, you get this effect 3 times total, right? So pretty good. Never came up, but it might. Also, if you're banishing off Extrav or Prosperity, the DDD package is likely the first to go. So yeah, you might not even have access to it. And then 1 copy of Zeus, just because we have Xyz monsters. Yeah, just in case we want a Zeus. Anyway, yeah, that's the extra deck. The extra deck is a lot more flexible. Feel free to swap out cards. If you don't like Chaos Angel, it doesn't come up enough, maybe put in the Fossil, Skull Fossil, whatever. Or maybe more copies of Garura, more copies of Bucephalus. Feel free. The world is your oyster. You can also cut the DDD package. Put in more Bucephalus, more Garura. You can put in Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, right? If you want. There's plenty of good alternatives. I would say the Dynamic Punishment targets are the main reason that you have an extra deck. Let's be honest. So, yeah, that is my deck profile, my deck list. Obviously, it will change over time. Especially, I already mentioned what would change once the Unchained stuff comes out, right? But yeah, Wannabee's already on the chopping block. Keep an eye out for Karma Cannon raising up to a 3 of, this going up to a 2 of, etc. So, yeah, play this deck. You will get to Masters very easily. I got to Masters with Masters 1 with over a 70% win rate. Very powerful going first. Surprisingly good going second. A lot of going second plays that you can make here. So, yeah, I hope you learned something. And I hope if you're a furniture user or watcher who uses furniture, please try this build. I promise you, you're going to have a good time. You're going to win more mirror matchups. You're going to win more matchups in general. Yeah, it's all about card advantage, baby. It's all about the card advantage. All right. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next video. Peace.